Hello and welcome back. Thank you for tuning in, as always, here. We're moving on to a new section of the text of A Course in Miracles today. So, as you follow along, which is always encouraged, whether you own a physical copy of the course or whether you're doing it online, we're going through today the first few paragraphs of chapter 21, section 3 of the text. And as the title of this section suggests, we're talking about faith, belief, and vision today. Faith, belief, and vision. Hmm. Hmm. How about that? Here's the premise that we'll start with. Nothing is so cherished as a goal that the mind accepts. Nothing is so cherished, nothing is held so dear as a goal that the mind accepts. Okay. Well, maybe that sounds completely obvious. It may well. We run into this as course students all the time, that these ideas sound really obvious. Well, they are. They're simple. And that is why we need to hear them over and over and over again. It's not that we can't understand them and put them into practice. We most certainly can. We simply choose not to because we've been conditioned to think that truth has to be so diluted, so convoluted, and so complicated that we need to do a million things to even approach it. And after we've done those million things, all off on our little ego self own, we realize we're no closer to it than we were when we started doing those millions of little things. So what do? We do a different lot of a million little things. And what about when we reach that point and discover we're no closer to truth than we were when we started doing this second round of millions of little things, and so on and so on. Feeling exhausted? Understandably. Understandably so. This is how we're conditioned, and this is what we do. We go forth and we look for answers where they are not to be found. We look for answers. We look for the answer outside of ourselves where it is not to be found at all. How can we say this? There's nothing outside you. So, how can you find the answer outside you if there's nothing outside you? Simple idea. One we're very prone to overlook, and we're prone, and we do overlook all of the simple ideas, believing that truth has to have more to it. It's got to be more complicated than that. Can't be that simple, right? Actually, it can, and it is. Nothing is so cherished as a goal that the mind accepts, and it holds this dear and protects it and defines it and defends it and follows it with great faith and dedication and persistence. And in our cases here, as we think we're individual human beings, think we are, implicit we are not, certainly not. We follow this dedication to separation with great faith and stubbornness. Hence the resistance that you may be feeling to this video or any of these videos at all what this pixelated image on your screen appears to be saying, what the Course appears to be saying, all of it. Resistance is of the ego. We've been conditioned to think we're an individual self-sustaining survival unit. Yet deep down, we know we're not. You do know that there's more to it than simply this. We all know that, or we would not be interested in spirituality in the first place. Not even. And of course, we look around ourselves, and there appear to be a lot of people who are not yet, or at this moment. Here's what really matters. You are. There's always a message from the Holy Spirit for you in each and every conversation. In fact, every time you look at this material, every time you have a conversation or a prayer or some form of communication with your inner teacher, every single time you're recognizing that there's way more to it than just our daily lives. Of course, there is. When you had that notion that, gosh, there's got to be more to it than that, you were completely right about that. So, our faith is very strong. When we accept a goal in our mind, we follow it and cherish it and hold it dear. So, the question then becomes, what are we accepting in our mind? What are we holding as the goal? Continued separation, symbolized here in these passages of the text by sin, the idea of sin. Are we cherishing that, or are we cherishing love and holding love as the goal? Peace, the peace of God. Is that the goal? Nothing is so cherished as the goal the mind accepts. And you have the opportunity, we all do, to accept a different goal right now. The power of your faith is strong. It may feel deeply weak, and, well, I can relate to that. We all have those days. We all have those days where it feels like awakening is a long way off, and will I ever get there in this lifetime? I don't know what's going on. This doesn't seem to be working, etc., etc. We can all relate to these moments. And there are some days where this really hits you, and it feels like you're in that state of mind all day long. Or there may be days where it's intermittent, and you could very well have days where that doesn't come up at all. Yeah, we can all relate to this resistance. We have the power of decision right now in the present moment. You have the power to choose love instead of fear. You have the power to choose the Holy Spirit, our inner teacher, instead of the ego. Quite simply, we really only have one choice between exactly two options. It's just like that. Now, the curious thing about this strength of faith and belief and vision is when we place it in separation, when we place it in guilt and fear and sin, we don't recognize this faith because we feel overwhelmed. We don't even recognize it. We don't recognize that we've placed our faith in illusion. Yet when we place our faith in love, it's always recognized. The power of our faith, belief, and vision is always 100% of the time recognized if we place our faith in love. So you clearly know what the invitation here is. We're often depicted here in A Course in Miracles as a prisoner in chains. The chains themselves are illusory and do not bind you. They can't hold you. You may shed them right now. Let's all do that because we can. So, as a practical matter, in the present moment, we're invited to give the Holy Spirit free rein. It's a good thing. It is. We're invited to give the Holy Spirit all of our experience, our speech, our decision making, every situation that we have, that we encounter in our lives, give it to the Holy Spirit for his purposes, which is the purpose of healing the mind. The Holy Spirit looks right past all illusions, doesn't recognize them, doesn't recognize all of our psychodrama, sees it, doesn't recognize it, looks on it as what it is, completely unreal, and looks past it completely. You want to look past all of the psychodrama completely, allow the Holy Spirit to enter, give over every moment of your experience to our inner teacher for the purposes of healing the mind, for the purpose of extending love. When we place our faith in love, our faith, belief, and vision become the means by which we attain the goal of certainty, by which we come to see, in the terminology of A Course in Miracles, the real world. In other words, the world completely forgiven and utterly devoid of guilt. We come to see things clearly. We come to see them for what they are. We come to see ourselves for what we are. We, along the way, see our brother for what he is. In other words, every other living thing that appears to be other, and it's only an appearance of other. We see everything and everyone as it is, as he is, as she is, as they are. We see everything as it really is. Our perception is at this point clarified. When we see truly, truth dawns of itself. Truth is beyond perception. It's beyond all of our concepts, in other words. It's beyond all of our notions and language and descriptions of ourselves and identities and all of that. It is simply known. And interesting thing here, we can experience this even while we appear to be here in the dream and this earthly psychodrama. Truth is known, in other words, experienced. Perhaps you've had a glimpse of truth. And I know that some of you have. You know exactly what we're talking about. Now, if you have not, that's fine. It is not 100% necessary for any one of us to have blinding flash of light, revelatory experiences along the way, though that very well may happen. If that does not happen for you, that's fine. Continue to show up aware in the present moment and choose love. Continue to show up and forgive. Each and every one of us will wake up. It is not a question of if. Here in time, it's only a question of when and how quickly. Well, comes back to the goal that we hold in mind, the goal that we set for ourselves. Do you want the peace of God and nothing else? And when you answer that yes, well, that's excellent. There is nothing else. So, at some point, wherever you may personally feel you are on the path, each and every one of us will appear to awaken. And I say appear to awaken because we've never left our source, capital S. A very well known and very often quoted passage from A Course in Miracles is this: ideas leave not their source. Hmm. Thoughts remain in the mind of the thinker. You're the thought of God. I am the thought of God. We are all the thought singular of God. Thoughts remain in the mind of the thinker. This supposed separation from our source never happened. And yes, that does mean that everything that we look like we're going through, that we appear to be going through here on wobbling, spinning ball of rock, is a dream. It's why they call enlightenment awakening. It's a very appropriate term, very. We're invited to accept the faith, belief, and vision of the Holy Spirit, set our own limited and shabby and incredibly sporadic faith, belief, and vision aside, and accept the Holy Spirit's faith, belief, and vision. He'll lead us to the real world. Our perception will be clarified. What we do is accept the Holy Spirit's faith, belief, and vision. We accept in our mind the goal of the peace of God, of love, of truth. That's our part to do. Let the Holy Spirit do the rest. People often ask, and it's a very good question, what exactly is the Holy Spirit anyway? You keep talking about this and you call it different things. Well, yes, the Holy Spirit is known by many different names, even here in the Course, where it's probably most frequently referred to as the voice for God. It's also known as the answer, capital A, mediator, capital M, communication link, caps, CNL, yeah, and so on and so on. Comforter, friend, lots of things. You may call the Holy Spirit whatever you wish. Here in these videos, I often refer to it as our inner teacher with an emphasis on inner here. That's very, very important because the Holy Spirit is not outside you. A few minutes ago, we said there's nothing outside you. Yeah, exactly. The Holy Spirit's part of our mind. We're invited to allow it to run the show, to tune in to it and accept its faith, belief, and vision. Will be led. So let's do that today, shall we? Yeah. I mean, what better concluding message could we come up with than, yeah, let's do that today and then get up tomorrow and do it again. All right. So I thank you as always for tuning in here. These videos appear several times a week, and if you have not yet subscribed, I want to invite you to please go ahead and do that. That's the prompt that's here in the corner of your screen. Click that icon, and you will be invited to join us. These videos are for beginning and experienced students alike, and they're also for those of us who are not course students. This is a self-study curriculum that's universal in both theme and application, meaning anyone can do it, regardless of background. So, however you have come across this material, I want to welcome you. And if you have not yet subscribed, please go ahead and do so. Now, questions are completely welcome here. What is spirituality but a deep, deep self-inquiry? And, well, inquiry means questions. I invite them, and please feel welcome to leave them here if you've got them. All right. And I thank you for joining me. I'll see you again soon.